Caracris is 6 p.m. and this is CBX Business News. The business news headlines are brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. An economic contraction, a major banking deal, and Canada bets big on hydropower. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Tuesday, August 18, 2026. I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, Jamaica's economy contracts 2.9% in the April to June quarter as the fallout from Hurricane Melissa continues to weigh on economic activity. Also ahead, Guardian Holdings targets October 1 to complete its acquisition of NCB Merchant Bank, bringing the major financial sector deal closer to completion. And later, Canada plans a massive expansion of hydroelectric power in Labrador in what could become one of North America's largest clean energy developments. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Mikey, is what sweet you saw?
Yeah, dear babes. Where's the Cathy? We are going to party tonight.
Party? You secure your future yet? Careless.
Did you know that over time the stock market has provided a reliably high return on investments? Be sure to contact a licensed stockbroker for more information on this exciting investment opportunity.
Taking care of business, Mikey?
Yeah, Cathy. I'm securing my future. Want to come look over my stock portfolio?
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
The local news is brought to you by Derrimon Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, Tease the Senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with fresh evidence of the economic toll left by Hurricane Melissa. Jamaica's economy is estimated to have contracted 2.9% during the April to June quarter when compared with the same period last year. Speaking during the Planning Institute of Jamaica PIOJ quarterly press briefing earlier today, Director General Dr. Wayne Henry says the downturn was broad-based as the lingering effects of the hurricane continued to weigh on production, employment, and domestic demand.
We are reporting that the Jamaican economy recording an estimated contraction of 2.9% compared with the corresponding quarter, April to June 2025. The outturn for the review quarter largely reflected the continued downturn in most industries due to the lingering impact of Hurricane Melissa. The hurricane led to an estimated decline in domestic demand as a result of a reduction in the employed labor force and lower levels of business and consumer confidence. The hurricane's impact was compounded by the El Niño phenomenon, which is expected to bring hotter, drier conditions and heightened risks to agricultural output, water availability, and public health, thereby threatening livelihoods and the performance of some industries.
He notes the damage was particularly severe across Jamaica's goods-producing industries, with agriculture emerging as one of the hardest hit areas, shrinking 17%.
Real value added for the agriculture, forestry, and fishing industry contracted by an estimated 17%. This performance stemmed from the lingering effects of Hurricane Melissa, compounded by drought conditions associated with the El Nino effect. Consequently, there was a fall in output per hectare and a 12.9% reduction in the area of domestic crops reaped.
That was PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry. And from the wider economy, attention is now turning to the man who will help steer monetary policy through the next chapter. Incoming Bank of Jamaica Governor Dr. R. Brian Langren will take charge of the country's central bank this Wednesday, October 19, at a time when the bank is navigating the next phase of Jamaica's post-shock economic recovery. Langren succeeds Richard Biles, who ends a 7-year tenure at the central bank today. In an exclusive interview with CBX Business News, Rondine Williams, local economist Keenan Faulkner says the change in leadership comes with a clear policy test for the incoming governor.
Dr. Langren will inherit a central bank that has achieved operational independence and preserved price stability and significantly reduced volatility in the foreign exchange market, while also maintaining wider financial sector stability amidst a challenging macroeconomic environment with multiple successive economic shocks over the last few years, including a pandemic, global geopolitical tensions in the Ukraine and the Middle East, and 2 back-to-back hurricanes. The single biggest challenge I believe that faces him now is maintaining this price stability and returning the inflation rate to its target range amidst continued global uncertainty.
But Langren is no stranger to the central bank. He previously served as BOJ's chief economist and later headed its financial stability department, where he worked on policy, legislative, and institutional reforms. He also served as technical lead for the government of Jamaica on 2 sovereign debt restructurings. Faulkner believes that background could help shape how Langren approaches monetary policy, including one area he believes will require particular attention.
Given Dr. Langren's previous experience at the central bank, I believe that his appointment signals continuity in the current management of monetary policy and provides the financial markets with confidence that the current trajectory of entrenching price stability will be maintained, and his appointment also preserves significant institutional memory in this respect, given his prior stint at the bank. I believe that the governor's first major economic decision will center around how the impact of interest rate decisions will be effectively transmitted to the real economy and the BOJ's approach in this regard. This will impact the perception of monetary policy decisions by market participants, including borrowers, lenders, and savers. And owing to several factors, the current mechanism is not as efficient as it can be, as decisions are not always reflected in real time. So the BOJ will have a greater role to play in this going forward under his governorship.
That was local economist Keenan Faulkner. Iron Rock Insurance is bucking a downturn in Jamaica's insurance market, recording premium growth at a time when the wider industry is seeing business decline. The divergence comes as the sector grapples with slower renewals following Hurricane Melissa, with some property owners still carrying out repairs and others reassessing their insurance coverage. Chief Executive Officer Christian Watt says Iron Rock's claims response has helped it move against the wider market trend.
Because we have actually grown our core premium by 10%. So while the market is behind somewhere around 13 to 15% in growth, we're actually up 10%. So we are seeing some demand, we're seeing some increase in demand, we're seeing people switch to Iron Rock, we're seeing commercial clients who have heard the stories of how the speed at which we approached and our general pragmatic approach towards the claim settlement process. We think that that is driving a bit of the change and a bit of our story in our revenue growth for sure.
The stronger business activity is also feeding through to the company's bottom line. Iron Rock returned to profitability as improved insurance performance and stronger investment returns helped the company rebound from losses recorded a year ago. The insurer posted a $21.7 million pre-tax profit for the second quarter of 2026, reversing a $23.6 million loss in the corresponding period of 2025. For the first 6 months of the year, pre-tax profit reached $28.7 million, compared with a $31.4 million loss a year earlier. In other news, former VM executive Ronnie Graham says the financial institution has more room to expand its efforts to promote savings and home ownership. Speaking with VM Group President and CEO Courtney Campbell, he says the company is only scratching the surface of what it can achieve, pointing to the institution's past experience as evidence that actively engaging people can encourage them to save and eventually become homeowners.
I think very often we're not very serious about home ownership. We think of investments maybe as, you invest some money and you earn interest on it and you see it grow and think. But the home ownership, which is building society's thing, the building society started in Jamaica in 1830 something. And out of that came VMBS. And I think, honestly do, that for many years up front especially, we were satisfied with, somebody walking in. And we have proven that if you go out there and you work on it, you can get folks to save and to owns.
That was former VM executive Ronnie Graham. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 110 stocks, of which 48 advanced, 47 declined, and 15 traded firm. Leading the winners are Everything Fresh, Innovative Energy Group, First Rock Real Estate Investments, and One-on-One Educational Services, while leading the losers are Palace Amusement Company, Paramount Trading Jamaica, 138 Student Living Jamaica Verbal Preference, and Deramont Trading Company. The main index declined by 1,972.56 points to close at 371,292.36 points. The junior market index declined by 11.50 points to close at 2,898.11 points. It's time for the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. In today's Market Education feature, we will be discussing the meaning of the term limited. In business, limited refers to a corporate structure where the financial liability of a company's shareholders is generally restricted to the amount they have invested. Commonly abbreviated as LTD, this structure is used in Jamaica and several other Commonwealth countries. A limited company is considered a separate legal entity, meaning it is responsible for its own debts. If the business becomes insolvent, shareholders are generally not required to use their personal assets to settle those debts. That was the Market Education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Deramont Trading, better from the start. The Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, Tease the Senses, and Pulse Investments.
Are so much book you need for high school? I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. Guyana earned an average of more than 11 million US dollars a day from oil revenues in July, as the country continues to benefit from rising offshore production. The Bank of Guyana's July report shows the Natural Resource Fund received approximately 343.4 million US dollars during the month, comprising profit oil and royalty payments. Guyana has now received more than 2.3 billion US dollars from oil sales and royalties during the first 7 months of the year, putting it on pace to exceed its $2.79 billion full year projection. Production from the ExxonMobil operated Stabroek block averaged about 902,000 barrels per day during the first half of 2026, up from roughly 716,000 barrels per day last year. Output is expected to rise further with the Urara development, which could push natural production above 1 million barrels per day once fully operational. The Natural Resource Fund, NRF, transferred about 300 million US dollars to the consolidated fund in July and ended the month with approximately 4.35 billion US dollars. Guardian Group is targeting October 1 to complete its acquisition of NCB Merchant Bank Trinidad and Tobago, subject to regulatory approval, in a move that could expand the Guardian Group's presence in investment management and capital markets across the Southern Caribbean. Speaking during the NCB Financial Group Q3 2026 investor briefing recently, Guardian Group Chief Executive Officer Ian Chinapoo says the regulatory process remains active and is progressing.
Okay, well, very live process, and my colleague Angus Young is here as well. He's the seller, we're the buyer. But we are in the process. So we've announced the intent to do so, and we've announced that in April. We're in the process of obtaining our no objection from our regulators, and we're very live. We even had calls up to yesterday. So we believe that we're making progress. We really hope that come our new fiscal financial year, October 1st, that the NCB Merchant Bank Trinidad and Tobago will be acquired by the Guardian Group. So that's our goal, and subject to all regulatory approvals.
Chinapoo says the acquisition would create an investment and asset management center serving markets across the Southern Caribbean.
Team we know very well. It's an exceptional team, exceptional business, and it will actually create, as our group CEO would have shared, an investment and asset management center of excellence in the Southern Caribbean, which will support Trinidad and Tobago, the Dutch Caribbean, Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean.
At the same time, Guardian says the acquisition would strengthen its capacity to participate in larger capital market transactions across the Caribbean. Chinapoo says combining the businesses with Guardian's larger capital base would give the operation greater capacity to pursue bigger transactions.
in terms of operational efficiency, leveraging talent, accessing a larger capital base, because in that business, the larger the capital base, the bigger the deals you can underwrite, the bigger deals that you can do, you're at the table. And we've already been very active there. We've done over $5 billion in underwritings and placements in the last 2 years in that space.
That was CEO of Guardian Group, Ian Chinapu. In financial news, Cinema One has sharply narrowed its losses, with the Trinidad and Tobago cinema operator reporting a 38% reduction in its net loss for the 9 months ended June. The loss fell to 4.8 million TNT dollars from 7.8 million a year earlier. That improvement came despite a 16% decline in net revenue to TT $11.1 million, as cost containment helped reduce the company's operating loss by 73%. Cinema One says restructuring its Cine Central lease and refinancing its Republic Bank loan also strengthened its financial position. The company says it is now benefiting from a stronger international movie slate, with global box office receipts reaching US $16.6 billion by the end of June. Its IMAX operation also recorded a sold-out FIFA World Cup final screening. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 19 securities, of which 4 advanced, 6 declined, and 9 traded firm. Today's winners are the West Indian Tobacco Company, Agostini, Grace Kennedy, and Eric Solis Marketing, while leading the losers are Ansa McCall, National Flour Mills, Massey Holdings, and Trinidad and Tobago NGL. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All TNT Index declined by 5.38 points to close at 1,430.76. The Composite Index also declined, but by 1.99 points to close at 1,012.67. The Cross-Listed Index, however, advanced by 0.24 points to close at 79.25, with the SME Index also advancing, but by 0.05 points to close at 71.27. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items, such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-923-5111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
Welcome back. In international news, Canada is moving ahead with a massive expansion of hydroelectric generation in Labrador, in what the government is describing as the largest clean energy investment in North American history. The development is expected to deliver up to 14,000 megawatts of renewable electricity, nearly tripling the generating capacity of the Churchill Falls facility. Speaking at a press briefing Monday, Prime Minister Mark Carney says the project would operate on a scale comparable with some of North America's largest power systems.
And as part of this agreement, the Government of Canada will help finance the new transmission lines that will link this clean energy to users in Labrador, in Quebec. Because yes, We love these windswept lands. The largest clean energy investment in North American history. Let's just put this in context. Tripling the current generation capacity of Churchill Falls to that 14,000 megawatts of renewable power. That's more than the entire generating capacity of BC Hydro. It's more than double the output of Bruce Power, the largest nuclear plant on this continent.
The additional electricity would be enough, according to the federal government, to power the combined residential needs of Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver.
It is the equivalent of 18 Hoover dams in America at their current capacity. Enough power to light, heat, cool the homes in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver combined. To provide the power we need to run the mines, the mills, the factory floors where Canadians will build their future.
That was Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. In the United States, U.S. industries used slightly more of their available production capacity in July, although utilization remained well below its long-term average. The Federal Reserve says capacity utilization edged up to 76.3% from a revised 76.2% in June, leaving the rate 3.1 percentage points below its 1972 to 2025 average. Manufacturing utilization increased slightly to 76%, while mining rose to 86.1%. Utilities also recorded a modest increase to 70%. Mining was the only major sector operating above its long-term utilization average. And still in the U.S., attention is turning to the nuclear energy market. U.S. uranium futures are holding near $85 per pound, supported by growing interest in nuclear power as governments and technology companies prepare for rising electricity demand. Prices have traded within a relatively narrow range since early April, after giving back gains from a sharp rally earlier in the year. Utility buying on the spot market has remained subdued, with more supply being secured through longer-term contracts. Geopolitical uncertainty and volatile energy markets are also strengthening interest in nuclear power as a reliable source of electricity. That demand is increasingly being reinforced by artificial intelligence and data centers, which require large and consistent supplies of electricity. Italy is among the countries moving towards a legal framework that could bring nuclear power back into its energy mix, alongside broader efforts to expand nuclear generation in the United States and Japan. Technology giants Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft have also entered agreements to secure additional nuclear capacity as they prepare for the growing power requirements of AI data centers. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break.
So much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, Jamaica's economy contracts 2.9% for Q2 as hurricane fallout persists. Regionally, Guardian targets October 1 to complete NCB Merchant Bank acquisition. And internationally, Canada plans major expansion of hydroelectric power in Labrador. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rashel Moncrieffe. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.